Every week, you do the same thing. You drag your trash to the curb, you go back inside, and at some point a big truck rolls up, swallows the bag, and drives away. Done. Gone. You never think about it again. But here's what you don't know. In the 30 seconds after your trash disappears into that truck, it goes through one of the most violent mechanical processes you will ever be standing 10 feet away from. There is a machine inside that truck powerful enough to crush a refrigerator flat, powerful enough to snap furniture like twigs, powerful enough that every single year, it kills people. And it's operating on your street, next to your kid's school bus stop, before you've had your first cup of coffee. So what actually happens in there? What happens to your bag the moment it drops out of sight? Let's follow it. The back of a garbage truck, that open steel mouth where the bags go, is called the hopper. It looks like a simple metal bin. It is not. The hopper is just the waiting room. Above it, folded up and out of sight, is a massive curved steel blade called the packer. When the driver hits the button, hydraulics wake up. The packer blade sweeps down through the hopper like a steel wave, scoops up everything inside, and drags it against a wall at the front of the truck body. And then it keeps pushing. The blade drives forward with tens of thousands of pounds of force, not pounds of weight, pounds of crushing, grinding hydraulic force concentrated on whatever happens to be in the way. Your trash bag doesn't stand a chance. It bursts open in under a second. The pizza box folds. The milk jug flattens. That old coffee table your neighbor put out? The blade snaps it into splinters and packs the pieces into the wall of compressed garbage like it was never furniture at all. And the truck does this over and over all day long. Every few stops, the blade cycles again, and each new layer of trash gets rammed against the layers before it. By mid-route, the inside of that truck body holds a single compressed block of waste so dense you could stand on it. Bags from 100 different kitchens, fused together into one solid mass. If you cut a truck open at noon, it would look less like a container of garbage and more like a geological cross-section of your neighborhood's week. This is the whole reason garbage trucks work. Loose household trash is mostly air. A bag of it might weigh 10 pounds but take up the space of a small dog. If trucks just collected trash the way it comes off the curb, they'd be full after 2 streets. So the truck squeezes the air out. A good compactor can take 3 or 4 truckloads of loose garbage and crush it into one. That's how a single vehicle can serve an entire neighborhood before lunch. And the numbers on that are kind of staggering. One residential garbage truck typically hits somewhere between 800 and 850 homes in a single day. By the end of the route, it's hauling around 12 to 14 tons of compressed waste. That's the weight of about 10 cars, made entirely of things people decided they didn't want anymore. Now, if you've ever stood near a garbage truck while it runs a compaction cycle, you've probably noticed the smell gets worse right at that moment. There's a reason for that, and it's disgusting. When the blade crushes everything together, all the liquids trapped in the trash get squeezed out at once. Old soup, sour milk, rainwater that sat in a bag for a week, diaper contents. It all gets pressed out of the trash like juice from a fruit, and it pools in the bottom of the truck. Waste workers have a name for this liquid. They call it garbage juice. The technical term is leachate, but nobody on a route says leachate. It's a dark, warm slurry of everything a few hundred households threw away, blended by hydraulic pressure. Trucks are built with sealed floors and drain plugs specifically to manage it, because if it leaks, a street will smell like that truck for days. The workers can't fully escape it. Ask anyone who's spent a summer on the back of a rear loader. When the blade comes down on the bags, the juice doesn't always drip politely. Sometimes it sprays. But here's where it gets more interesting, because the truck you grew up watching, the one with 2 guys hanging off the back, is slowly going extinct. In most newer trucks, especially in the suburbs, there's nobody on the back at all. There's just a driver, sitting in the cab, operating a giant steel arm with a joystick. These are called automated side loaders. The arm reaches out, grips your bin with 2 curved claws, lifts it over the truck, flips it upside down, shakes it, and sets it back on the curb. The whole cycle takes about 8 to 12 seconds. The arm can lift hundreds of pounds without the driver ever touching a single bag. For the workers, this changed everything. The old way, the rear loader way, meant a helper hanging off the back step of the truck for 8 or 10 hours, hopping down at every house, grabbing bags by hand, hurling them into the hopper, and jumping back on before the truck rolled to the next stop. Do the math on that. Hundreds of stops, 2 or 3 bags per stop, day after day. Veteran collectors will tell you they lifted more weight in a shift than most people lift in a month at the gym, except the weights leaked, split open, and occasionally had a broken bottle or a used needle poking through the plastic. Torn shoulders, ruined knees, and sliced hands were just part of the job description. The robotic arm exists partly for speed, but mostly because the human body was never designed to do that job for 30 years. One person, one joystick, 800 homes a day. From inside the cab, it looks less like garbage collection and more like playing a very repetitive arcade game. Except the claw machine weighs 30 tons and is worth more than a house. A new automated garbage truck costs somewhere in the range of $300,000 to $400,000. You are watching a machine that costs more than most homes in America pick up your banana peels. Now let's clear up a myth, because this is the part people get wrong constantly. A lot of people believe that somewhere between the curb and the landfill, someone goes through the trash. That somewhere in the process, a person or a machine pulls out the valuables, the recyclables, the stuff that shouldn't be in there. They picture the truck as the first step in some kind of sorting operation. No, there is no sorting inside a garbage truck. There is only crushing. The moment your bag goes into the hopper, it enters a one-way system. Whatever is in that bag gets compacted into a dense wall of waste with everything else on the route. And the only way it comes out is when the whole load gets pushed out at the landfill or transfer station. This is why those stories about lost wedding rings are so brutal. It happens more often than you'd think. Someone wraps a ring in a napkin, the napkin goes in the trash goes in the truck. By the time they realize it, that ring is buried somewhere inside 12 tons of compressed garbage. People have paid transfer stations to dump an entire truckload onto a concrete floor so they could dig through it by hand. Sometimes they find it, usually they don't. And your phone? If your phone goes into that hopper, you don't have a phone anymore. You have fragments of a phone distributed through a wall of trash. Which brings us to the part of this that's genuinely dangerous. Because some of the things people throw away don't just get crushed, they fight back. Think about what's actually in an average week of household trash. Aerosol cans, half-full propane cylinders from the barbecue, pool chemicals, batteries. Now put all of that into a sealed steel container and hit it with tens of thousands of pounds of hydraulic force. Aerosol cans burst like gunshots inside the truck body. Propane tanks can rupture and turn the hopper into a fireball. Pool chlorine mixed with the wrong liquid can generate toxic gas in the middle of a residential street. Drivers know these sounds: a pop, a hiss, a bang from the body of the truck. Most of the time, it's nothing. Sometimes it isn't. But the biggest problem right now, the one that's getting worse every single year, is lithium batteries. That dead phone you tossed, the old cordless drill battery, the cheap vape. Lithium batteries don't like being punctured, and a garbage truck compactor is essentially a puncturing machine. When the blade crushes a lithium battery, it can short-circuit internally and enter something called thermal runaway. The battery doesn't just catch fire. It becomes its own furnace, generating its own heat, feeding its own reaction. You can't easily put it out, and it's buried inside tons of compressed trash where no extinguisher can reach it. Waste industry fire reports have tracked well over 1,000 fires a year at trucks and waste facilities across the US and Canada, and batteries are the prime suspect in a huge share of them. It's common enough that drivers are trained for a specific emergency move. If the load starts smoking, they don't drive to the fire station. They find the nearest open space, a parking lot, an empty street, and they eject the entire burning load right there on the ground, because a smoldering pile on asphalt is a problem, but a fire inside a truck full of fuel and hydraulic fluid is a catastrophe. So the next time you see a pile of garbage dumped in the middle of a parking lot with a fire crew hosing it down, now you know. Somebody threw away a battery. And all of this, the explosions, the fires, the machinery, is part of the reason for a statistic that surprises almost everyone who hears it. Garbage collection is one of the deadliest jobs in the United States. Not one of the grossest, one of the deadliest. Year after year, federal labor statistics put refuse collectors in the top 5 or 6 most dangerous occupations in the country, with a fatality rate several times higher than police officers or firefighters. The people at the top of that list are loggers, roofers, pilots of small aircraft, and garbage collectors are right there with them. Some of it is the machine itself. The packer blade doesn't know the difference between a mattress and an arm, and workers have been killed by their own equipment. But most of it is simpler and dumber than that. It's traffic. A garbage worker's office is the road, and their job requires stepping into it hundreds of times a day, often before sunrise, while drivers around them are impatient, distracted, or trying to squeeze past a stopped truck. The industry has a name for the campaign against this: slow down to get around. Several states have literally written it into law. It exists because enough workers have been killed by passing cars that they had to legislate common courtesy. And then there's the darkest thing about these machines. The thing the industry doesn't like to talk about, but every driver thinks about. Sometimes there are people inside the dumpsters. In cities across the country, people experiencing homelessness sometimes climb into commercial dumpsters at night. It makes a terrible kind of sense. A dumpster is dry, it blocks the wind, and on a freezing night, cardboard and trash bags hold body heat. The problem is that commercial dumpsters get emptied mechanically, often before dawn, by a truck that lifts the container 2 stories into the air and shakes it out. From the cab, in the dark, a sleeping person under a layer of bags is invisible. The driver feels nothing. The truck doesn't notice. It doesn't happen every day. But it happens every year, in city after city, and it has for decades. Waste companies now train drivers to bang on dumpsters and check inside before lifting. Some cities send outreach teams through alleys on the coldest nights specifically to check the dumpsters. Every one of those policies exists because of someone who didn't get checked on. That's the part of this machine nobody thinks about at the curb. The truck is indifferent. It compacts whatever it's given. The entire system relies on humans, tired humans, at 5 in the morning, in the dark, to catch what shouldn't be in there. And humans miss things. So let's finish the journey. The truck is full, 14 tons, packed tight. Where does your bag actually end up? The truck drives to a landfill or a transfer station, backs up to the tipping area, and then does the whole process in reverse. Inside the truck body, there's a giant steel plate, the ejector, and it does exactly what the name says. Hydraulics drive it from the front of the body to the back, and the entire compressed contents of the truck, everything from all 800 houses, slides out as one dense, dripping mass. Your Tuesday trash comes out fused with everyone else's Tuesday. Indistinguishable, part of a single object that didn't exist that morning. At a landfill, a compactor the size of a tank rolls over it and crushes it even further into the ground. At a transfer station, it gets loaded into even bigger trucks and hauled somewhere else, sometimes hundreds of miles away. Either way, that's the end of the line. The bag you tied shut in your kitchen this morning no longer exists as an object. It's been shredded, pressed, soaked, and merged into the collective output of your entire zip code. And here's the thing that stays with me about all of this. The whole system is built around one goal: making sure you never have to think about it. The truck comes early so you don't see it. The compactor is enclosed so you don't watch it. The juice is sealed so you don't smell it mostly. The landfill is outside town so you don't look at it. An average American throws away close to 5 pounds of trash a day, every day, for their entire life, and the system is engineered so that the entire experience of that, on your end, is a 15-foot walk to the curb. Meanwhile, the actual work is one of the most dangerous jobs in the country, done by people whose names you don't know, operating machines that can crush a couch, on streets where drivers won't even slow down for them. So the next time you hear that truck rumbling up your street, take 1 second. That's not just a truck picking up bags. That's a $400,000 crushing machine, a rolling hydraulic press, a fire risk, a chemistry experiment, and one very tired human being with a joystick, making 12 tons of your neighborhood's leftovers disappear before you finish breakfast. You put the bag on the curb. The truck does the rest. And now you know exactly what the rest looks like.